Hey everybody, in this video we're going to be talking about doing seasonal work for UPS. So this will probably apply to people looking for work in 2026, 2027. Today is December 23rd, 2025. So this is probably my last day doing seasonal work, as generally they have you turn in your stuff on your last day before Christmas, which this is the last day before Christmas. Um, so let me give you my general impressions of the job first. As someone who's done gig economy work for the last couple of years, along with other things, I do recommend this job. I do like it. It's much better than the gig economy stuff I've done, which, if you're not familiar, I've done DoorDash, Grubhub, Uber Eats, and Spark. Though the Spark video I probably won't release till after this one's out, but I did record a video about Spark in November of this year. So overall, the pay that they offer seasonal drivers here in Colorado is $23 an hour. I don't know if that's a national thing. I imagine the wage will fluctuate depending on your cost of living and where you are in the country, in the United States. They pay 67 cents a mile, which was kind of the kicker for me and why I decided to do this over doing gig economy work. You get a lot more hours. The $23 an hour is better than probably most gig economy contracts you'll get. Spark sometimes was better than that, but then you have to consider you're not making anything in mileage. So it's, and you have to fight with everybody else about these contracts if you're doing gig economy work where you don't. You're a W-2 employee through UPS. So I really like that. I've been doing this before Thanksgiving when they brought everybody on. I think I was in the second round of hiring as I ran into some other people uh, before who had just been hired like the day before. Some things I'll say about the job that I wasn't expecting is the physical part of it is a little bit more intense than I thought initially. I'm not in terrible shape. I'm not in great shape either, but I can go for hikes and stuff with no problem. Do a 4 or 5 mile hike, no problem. But this was really something because it really does wear on your legs and stuff, where you'll be sore and picking up packages, delivering them all day long. So that's something to think about. There's a lot of people that I got hired with that now, in retrospect, I wonder if they're still working for the company because they were older and they were not in the best shape. And so I just kind of wonder if those guys could make it through the season. They want you to work 6 days a week. They kind of came out and said that. They give you Sunday off. You can take an optional day off if you want to. I got the gist through some of the things they were saying that was sort of frowned on. Of course, you're big savings to them because of the wages being so much lower than what their regular employees make. Now, you are still a union member. You'll have to be brought onto the union, and that's something I need to remember today. At the end of this, I need to unplug from the union because you'll be paying union dues. Beyond this. Now, some other things I'd recommend is instead of using the app they supply, I would recommend picking up a device from them. So I have one, it's called an MDA, but I like this better because, they are going to be tracking everything you do. So you can turn this off at the end of the day and it's not on your phone as like spyware. It's pretty much right in the contract they talk about being that like they're going to be monitoring you, following you, who knows what else. Any communications, they probably can monitor that too. So I use this, but I like it because it keeps you kind of focused in. It has a map on it that works well. It's more power efficient, than the phone with everything else. So I'd recommend this. This will cost you $5 a day because they're paying you $5 a day if you use it on your device. So keep that in mind. If you have a Samsung or something that's really mainstream, you might consider using the app. But I decided to do this as I have a Pixel 6, and it's not always the most reliable thing using apps like Spark and stuff. I have a lot of problems. Another thing, if you're a light complected person like myself, sunscreen, lip balm, especially in a climate like Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, where you get a lot of dry air, you're going to be out a lot during the day. I did really like the job, as I said before. If they offered this same pay to me and the same job to me as a full time thing to do all year long, I would say yes. This is honestly way better than the gig stuff I was doing, and it's super hard to find work right now. Find a job in this market, and I've been trying for a while, and so it's a little frustrating. I'm going to be going back into probably doing solar stuff this next year, but that whole world has changed, and who knows if it will be as good as it was. Not that it was ever super great, but I also didn't put a lot of time and effort into it as I really should have, just because of going to door. People don't like that. That's one thing I'll say about this job. People really do like UPS drivers. They like the post office, they like FedEx. You get a lot of smiles, you get a lot of people talking to you. When you go to the door, they leave snacks and stuff for you. I'm really happy with how I was treated by the public doing this job. If you look the part and you're helping people out, they're happy to see you. Versus gig economy stuff, they're pissed off about their order being wrong and they think it's your fault, and then they might take your tip back or something like that. And you also have to deal with just the sleazy actors on the other side who are providing your contract to you, trying to take more and more money the longer you do the work, so you're being paid less and less. Here, you don't have to worry about that. You're making your W-2 employee, you're making the same wage, same mile, same 67 cents a mile, which is also nice. Anyway, so I'd recommend it. Get a flashlight. Also that would be really smart for nighttime stuff, because it's going to get dark early when you're out at Christmas. 4:30 in the evening. It gets dark here, and I was working till 7:30 on some of the longer shifts, maybe even 8 on some nights. My trailer's just getting pulled in here. Let me show you that. So they have me working out of a trailer a lot of the times in different parts of the city instead of going into the main center. And sometimes I would be working with other guys. These last 2 days I haven't been. I've been just doing a trailer on my own. So, and I like that. They're not micromanaging you so much as some giving general guidelines. Put your hazards on when you're stopped. Dog safety, things like that. Hydrate. You'll hear the same things, and they send you messages every day about that. But pretty much you're on your own. You're your own manager. You can do it however you want to. I personally like using the map that they give you on this device. This is something they didn't really tell me about. I had to kind of figure it out, but on the top panel, there's 3 different bars. You can do your list and go through by address and scan in. And the other one is map. That shows you all your stops on your geographical area. I like that way better. So I use the map, and then I use their route system, which is all numbered. So those 2 things, basically, if you can organize your vehicle, put all your route numbers in certain areas of your vehicle, and you remember, like, hey, this door back here is going to be my 6,000s, or my 600s. Over here is my 800s, 700s, and then just kind of organize it however you want to. That makes it so much easier, and just doing it geographically is there's less distance between stops, and your time will greatly diminish, and they'll like you better too as a driver if you're doing over 15 stops an hour. So something to think about. I'm averaging around 17 right now. I've never been talked to about being too slow or anything. And I think if you're a gig economy worker, and you have that mindset of like, time is money, and I need to get this done as quick as possible, that's a good place to be coming from, and they'll appreciate it too. So, that's why I say if you've done gig economy work before, you're probably in a good spot, and at least to kind of get an idea of what you're being for. But adapt yourself to this new route system and the map through either the application on your phone or through this device that they give you. Definitely get the vest if you can. Ask them for one. It will save you a lot of suspicious looks and stuff like that from people who are not sure exactly what you're there for. And and then wear the colors of UPS. Like, I try to wear black, gold, brown, and white when I go out, and that works well for me. What else can I tell you? Those are really the main things. I would recommend it. I'd love to get on as a full-time UPS employee. I don't really think that's something that they're doing. I heard that they cut employees before I came on, and I think this was a cost-saving measure for them doing this seasonal work where, even though you're still union and stuff like that, you're not making the same money that I've heard UPS drivers are making. I've heard a lot of these guys make over $100,000 a year doing this work. So, and they're making super big overtime. So you're a cost saving measure. And, they might hire some of us after this. I don't, I've always been good for them. There was one day that there was ice on the road in November. And I couldn't work that day because my car was sliding out on the way to the center to pick up my load. And I knew that I was going to get in a wreck if I stayed on the road. So I had to call in that day, and they were kind of mad about that. They said, "Oh, you're a no call, no show." I was like, "No, I called in. I let you guys know on the road that I tried. I can't get to the station safely. and I have to take into consideration, like, I need my car for anything else I'm doing, and I can't have it wrecked. So I called in. They weren't happy about that. Like I said, they tried to say it was no call, no show. When I said that, they had no response. And then ever since then, I've been working every day I could and been a great employee. Got a good review by their roadside guy. He came by, was kind of watching me work without me knowing, and said, "Hey, you did everything right. You're great. You did a great job this year, and we appreciate you." And yada yada. So I know I'm doing a good job. And it's kind of unfortunate this job will be ending today. I'll be turning in the vest in the phone most likely at the end of the day. That's just part of the expectation when they were, talking to us about this. So I'm kind of losing my voice a little bit here. But, I would continue to do this job if that was an option. But I'm not sure it is. They might have some additional work for returns and stuff after the season. So if you wanted to stay on longer, just do a good job. That's about it, though, guys. I appreciate you watching the video. Please thumbs it up if you would. I'd appreciate that. But overall, yep, happy with it. If you can get on with like FedEx, UPS, Amazon Prime, stuff like that, I think this is a better option than doing just gig economy work. The downside being you're on their hours, you're a W-2 employee, so you have to conform to their standards and metrics and work when they want you to versus, working whenever you want to through DoorDash, Grubhub, Spark, whatever. I mean, of course, you still have the high demand hours, so you're mostly going to be working mornings, evenings, and afternoons for those services. Where here you'll be working, they want me to start at 11. I usually get here a little early and start sooner whenever I can. So that would be the downside. But the upside is I'm probably making 3 to 4 times better money than I would be if I was doing gig economy right now. With that on its own and nothing else in taken into consideration. All right, guys, that's it for now. My truck's here, like I showed you, so I'm going to get off and start unloading it. Take care. Bye-bye. Peace.